Philly's favorite 100.7 FM. Welcome to another Real Talk with the Real Estate Diva. Today, we are talking about business credit. So all of you business owners, entrepreneurs, sole proprietors, partners, stay tuned for this episode. We have a lot of great information just for you. Let's go.
This is Desarrie, Real Estate Diva McDuffie. You are here for another episode of Real Talk with the Real Estate Diva. Today we have a very, very, very special guest giving you guys the ins and outs of business credit. I would like to introduce to you guys Mr. Kevin.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Kevin. Kevin is the CEO of Premisien.
You said it perfectly.
I said it perfectly.
You said it perfectly.
Good. All right, so tell me, what is Premisien? Let's just jump right on into it.
Where does the name come from?
Where does the name come from?
Oh, there's a story behind this. I hope you have time for a story.
We have time.
So I used to be in the crowdfunding space. This is not a brag. This is not me showing off, but I used to I helped bring some of the legislation. So Barack Obama passed the Jobs Act, and part of the Jobs Act was to bring about equity crowdfunding, allowing people to crowdfund, to use their businesses and use equity crowdfunding platforms to do crowdfunding campaigns. And so instead of asking for a few people for a large sum of money, you can now ask a large sum of people for small sums of money, and they can invest in your business. And before the Jobs Act, you weren't allowed to do that publicly, but now you can. I was part of a team of people who brought the legislation about. So I used to do crowdfund consulting, and one of my first clients was a young lady whose name is Premise. She made this product called the Petty Flop sandal. So she used to get her toenails done, and she'd go to in Philly you guys call them nailery, right? So I love that word here. You call them nailery, but she would go to the nailery, get her feet done, and then they would give her those little flimsy,
the little thin foam ones,
So she couldn't go to the mall, so she created a decorative sandal that separated your toes so that the toes could dry.
Oh.
We launched a crowdfunding campaign. She was able to use that crowdfunding campaign, get on Shark Tank, and although she didn't get funded, Damon John gave her all access to his manufacturing. So I liked her name. Her name is Premise. If you're out there listening, Premise, thank you very much. She knows, though. I liked her name, and I asked her if I could use it as a derivative to name my company. The rest was, as they say, history.
Okay, listen. So I took a couple of things out of there. One, you worked with our former president in legislation, helping to.
Yes,
okay.
I was part of a team.
That's big.
Yeah. So I was part of a team of people who were brought to DC to help determine what that legislation was going to look like. I'd gotten into the crowdfunding space really, really early. So you guys know crowdfunding as GoFundMe. Before it was GoFundMe, though, there was legislation that had to be passed to make it possible. And I was part of a team of people who came to Washington several times and wrote out that legislation.
Nice.
It is still in effect today.
Nice. And the other thing I got out of it was I'm going to need that website for the Petty Flop.
It's called Pettylicious. Pettylicious. I will send it to you after we have this conversation.
We're giving a plug to Pettylicious.
Thank you for Mies Martin, great friend of mine. Thank you for allowing me to use a derivative of your name. I asked her, of course, for permission before I did it, but her Petty Flop sandal is in several outlets, Macy's, Dillard's down south, so she's doing pretty good for herself.
Okay, good, because I do also have that problem. So yeah, I'm going to make sure I order those.
Problem no more.
Problem no more. All right, so let's jump right into it, right?
Sure.
And why we're here today. Business credit. What is the difference between, like, if I own a business, do I have to have a separate business credit, from my personal credit? How exactly does that work?
So you don't have to.
Okay.
I would advise you to, and I advise all my clients to, because business credit has way more power than personal credit, and it's much less volatile.
Okay.
I'll give you an example of the power of business credit, and then I'll tell you about where the lack of volatility can be an advantage for you. So one of the areas of business credit where business credit gets its most power is the amount of credit that you can get. So I don't want to endorse, but in this conversation, I may have to mention some companies' names. I'm gonna refrain from that as much as possible because I don't want to be liable for lawsuit. But let's say you apply for a credit card on the personal side from one company and you are approved. You might get a limit of $5,000. If you apply for business credit from that same company, you will get 3 to 5 times, in some instances 10 times as much. So you might get 15,000 to 25,000, maybe 50,000, depending on the company, because you can reasonably expect, banks are reasonably expecting that you're going to use more money, more credit, more financing for your business than you would use in your personal life. That's one area. The other thing that I really love is just like you get more credit, you get more rewards points. So let's say on that same personal credit card, it was $1 for $1. You spent $1, you got 1 point, or $1 for point. On that business credit card, you're going to get 3 to 5 points. So you're getting 3 to 5 times as much credit and 3 to 5 times as many points. So that's just a couple of ways that you can leverage the power of business credit. The volatility. So one, what we call credit utilization on the personal side, meaning if you have a credit card that has a $1,000 limit and you use 750 of it, your credit utilization is 75%. On the personal side, they want it to be 30% for you to be good.
Yes.
On the business credit side, they call it debt to limit. Same concept, but it can be 45%. They want it to be 45%. Okay. So you've got more leverage. And the payment history. So business credit doesn't use payment history the same way personal credit does. So you are aware, this doesn't happen to you because you have perfect credit. But for those people who don't, out there who don't have perfect credit on the personal side, let's say you miss a payment on your car payment. You miss a payment, it could, on the personal side, your score could drop 60 points. And it will take 24 months of you paying that credit card back on time before you get those 60 points back. 24 months, that's 2 years for the people who might struggle with math. There's nobody out here in the audience, so that's just me being comical. But it will take you 2 years of paying on time for you to get those 60 points back. On the business credit side, same thing happens, but you can pay the next credit card, you can pay it early. The earlier you pay, the better your score. So you could lose, now you lose less points. So same thing happens on the personal side. On the business side, you lose 20 points, but all you have to do is, let's say you paid that card 30 days late. All you have to do is pay the next card 30 days early. And it doesn't even have to be that same card. You could pay a different card or a different account 30 days early and you'll get those 20 points back. Oh. So essentially you could lose points and gain those points back in the same pay cycle.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah. So in what situation how long does a person have to be in business before they can apply for business credit?
You can start your business today, and you can apply for some types of business credit the next day.
Okay.
Now, I want to be clear, Desarrie. I got to be clear to the audience. So I got to do this for dramatic effect.
Okay.
Let me be clear about what I'm saying. There are a lot of people who are saying you can start a business today and get $50,000 worth of business credit tomorrow. Not quite true. There are companies that will do what they call B2B credit. We call them vendors in our industry. So, and again, I don't want to endorse and I don't want to be liable for something I say here, but there are companies that will give you products and service. What? They don't give you. They will sell you products and services and do an invoice for those products and services. You've heard of net 30s, net 60, net 90s. So they'll give you an invoice for those products and services, and then you have to pay that entire invoice, whatever the date is. So if they say net 30, you have 30 days from the date of the invoice to pay it. So yes, you could get $50,000 worth of credit from those companies.
Okay.
But that just means you can buy products and services from those companies. But when we're talking about credit cards, we're talking about lines of credit, we're talking about equipment leasing, merchant cash advance, you can't get $50,000. You start your business today. They need to see some revenue.
There's some internet gurus out there saying the opposite, though. They're saying you can, I'm not going to name the banks, right? But they say there's certain institutions. I'm looking at your face.
You call them, because you said gurus.
You
call
know, the
them gurus.
internet gurus, they...
We're air quoting here.
Yeah, we are air quoting. But, that's what they say. You go to certain institutions and apply, and you can get like $50,000 worth of, credit. Like that. Real simple.
Do you believe those people?
I don't believe those people, but I haven't tried it either, so I don't know.
Got it.
Might, I don't know. You tell me, is it true?
So the answer to your question, is it true? Not if you just start your business.
Okay.
And there is this thing called, one of the reasons that makes it untrue somewhat. So Desarrie, I'm not saying it's untrue. The way that we work with people is there's a subject and a predicate, right? We learned that in elementary school, right? When you make a sentence, there's a subject of the sentence and there's a predicate. Most of the internet gurus are telling you the subject of the sentence. They're not telling you the predicate. I'm here to tell you the entire sentence, the subject and the predicate.
Okay.
So let me talk about what would make that untrue. When you're looking at, again, anything other than vendor credit, what I talked about before, anything other than vendor credit, when you're looking at that, banks are looking at what's called a bank rating. A bank rating is the amount of daily balance that you have over a 90-day period. If you have less than $10,000 daily, so that means they're going to look at your bank account. And by the way, any lender can look at your bank balance. It is public knowledge to the banks, which might not be known, or
no, I didn't
certainly
know that either.
Not very well. So yeah, if a bank wants to lend you money, for your business,
Okay,
they
not
can
personal. Just
not
business.
personal.
Okay.
For business, they can look at your bank balance. They can pull they can pull bank statements from your bank. But they're looking at, there's a bank rating 3, 4, and 5. 3 means that would be the equivalent of a poor bank rating. 4 would be an average bank rating. 5 would be a great bank rating. And then each one of those 3, 4, and 5 has low, mid, and high. So a low 5, which would be good, means that you carry an average balance of $10,000 or more for 90 days straight.
Okay.
So what does that mean? That means in your business bank account. So first and foremost, you have to have a business bank account. Right? Secondly, you've got to leave at least $10,000 or more in the bank for 90 days straight, for a 90-day period, in order for you to get a low 5. Now, a high 5, which is the best that you can have, that's $35,000 every day. So when the bank closes, they need to see that you have $35,000. So when someone says you can go to these banks and you can get $50,000 worth of credit cards or lending, sure. If your business is generating, let's do $10,000 a day. That means let's say you average $10,000 a month. That means you're making $120,000, and you got to be making actually more than $120,000, because that's what has to be left in the bank every day after expenses. So, quite the truth.
Not quite the truth.
Not quite the truth.
Okay. So a lot of people also talk about the net, right? The net 30, the net 60, the net. So explain a little bit more about what that is, because we hear these terms, but we don't know what they are and what they truly mean. So I know you said that these are maybe business to business service providers or, product providers, and you can purchase, these items and they would give you a credit, or not a credit, a line of credit?
Yeah.
A credit for 30. So net 30 is 30 days, net 60 is 60 days, net 90 is. Okay, I'm
You didn't need me. You didn't need me
right?
here.
I got it.
You got it. You don't need me here.
That was simple though, right?
Sure.
But I honestly didn't know myself, what the net, 30, 60, or 90 was. I probably should know, right? But these are things that I don't know. So that's why we're having this show, y'all,
Sure.
so that we can get the information out to people like me who don't have all of the answers. So, that's why we have this expert here with us. So go ahead.
Oh, expert.
Yes,
I've been elevated, guys. So yeah, net 30, let's say office supplies. So I counsel people all the time, and I tell them those companies, those vendor companies are great for your back end. So typically there are two functions of your business, or two components of your business. Okay. There's the front end, and that's where you're getting clients, you're talking to your clients or customers, however you refer to them. You're doing the activities that are customer facing. But then there's the back end. That is, you've got to buy equipment, you've got to buy supplies, you've got to buy, if you are in the restaurant industry, you've got to buy inventory, right? I say that the vendor accounts or vendor companies are great for your back end. You got to buy a printer, you got to buy paper for the printer, you got to buy ink. You get those from vendor companies. And those companies, let's say office supply companies, right? There's a major one. Most people who know are listening to the gurus will tell you there's one really notable office supply coming up. Not going to mention their name, but because they don't pay me. They don't give me checks.
I know, that's right.
But there's a notable office supply company. They will sell you these products, and they will send you an invoice. You have 30 days to pay that invoice in full. So if you order 500 worth, you've got to pay 500 worth in 30 days. And so let me stay there for a second and again show you the power of business credit in that example I was talking about. But you get the supplies, you have 30 days. The earlier you pay that invoice, the better your business credit. So if you pay it at 30 days, you'll have the equivalent of a C rating. You pay it in 21 days, you'll have a B rating. You pay it in 14 days or less, you'll have an A rating. Obviously, you want to be A rated, right? But let's say you pay it late, 2 weeks late. So it's 30 days, but you pay it in 45 days. Your business credit score is going to go down. But all you need to do is pay another net 30 invoice in 14 days, and you'll get those
right back up.
Right back up.
Right back up. So who is the, like for instance, we know who the reporting agencies are for personal credit. Who are the reporting agencies for business credit?
Sure. So Dun & Bradstreet is the most notable. They are most widely used. Experian Business is the second most widely used, and I contend, will overtake Dun & Bradstreet soon, because Experian 2 years ago decided that they were going to be a much more customer-friendly credit agency. Now, none of the credit agencies in their onset were created with consumers in mind. They did not look at the people who they're reporting on as consumers or clients. But now they have said those people who are subject to our reporting are our consumers, and they are leading the credit agencies in that customer facing, that consumer facing. So they are more friendly to us now. And I contend they will take over the consumer market as well. But right now they are making a play to be the most notable and most widely used business credit reporting agency. By the way, Experian Business is separate from their consumer division. So the information that they have in their business division doesn't cross-pollinate with their consumer. But in order now, to date, it is Dun & Bradstreet, the most notable, Experian Business, the second most notable, Equifax Business, the third most notable, and again, separate from Equifax, the consumer, and then Credit Safe. And then there are several other smaller ones that are coming online, but Experian Business, I think in the next 2 years will probably be the most notable and most widely used.
Okay. And how does a creditor determine which company or who's going to be the credit bureau or credit reporting company
And so
servicer?
when you say company, do you mean who they're going to report their account to? So let's say so they just choose. So that's a great question. So let's say you apply for, let's say there's an office supply store, office company that provides office supplies, and you want to know who they report to. There's no law that they have to report at all, and they can choose who they report to. They don't have to report to all. They can choose who they report to. So you just have to ask,
Okay.
do you report? And if so, which bureau do you report to, or which bureaus do you report to? And if they say none, doesn't mean that they won't. You just have to ask.
Okay.
Okay, you're not reporting. Will you report my payments to the business credit bureaus? And if they may say yes, and they may even ask you, which one do you want us to report to?
Oh, wow.
And then there are some services that will, if the company doesn't report, there are some services that you can purchase that will report your vendors to the business credit bureaus.
Okay. So similar to personal or consumer credit, you could have multiple scores in business credit depending
Absolutely.
on who the bureau is. Okay.
Absolutely.
Reporting agency or reporting bureau is.
Yep.
Okay.
So Dun & Bradstreet uses a Paydex score. Experian Business uses an SBSS score.
Okay.
Equifax uses an SBFE score. Don't make me tell you what those acronyms.
I was about to ask you. But
okay.
I won't get into that. I won't. Go ahead. It's all right. If you don't think it's pertinent information, then
Yeah, don't worry.
Don't worry about that part.
Just know that each one of those companies uses a different scoring model.
okay. All right. Okay. All right. Good. Is there anything else that a consumer should know, or a business owner should know when it comes to business credit? Like, for instance, I'll just ask you this. I know some people may just start their business. Do they have to have an LLC or, a corporation in order to get business credit? Or can they be a sole proprietorship using their social security number and not necessarily an EIN number? How exactly does that work? How does that fall into play?
So no, you can't be a sole proprietor, because a sole proprietorship, business credit means credit that is leveraged using your EIN number, not your social security. If you're using your social security number, it is personal credit. Even if you have your business under a sole prop. So sole props don't have access to business credit the way the rest of them are. The only other structure that may have a challenge is limited liability partnerships. But there are some creditors that cater to limited liability partnerships, so law firms.
Okay.
Outside of that, all the other structures can participate in the cadre of business credit lending that's out there. And there are many different types of business credit. Most people think that there are only 3 types of business credit: business credit cards, business lines of credit, and true loans, business loans. But there is factoring, where you have an invoice and a company or a lender is going to lend you money based on the invoice. There is merchant cash advance. So if you take credit cards like a restaurant, you can get a cash advance. They'll take a percentage of, let's say you get a cash advance for $100,000. They'll take a percentage of your future sales until you pay that back plus the interest. There is, we talked about the vendor lines of credit. There is equipment leasing or equipment financing. So there are many different types of lending out there. And it's important to note, Desarrie, that these different types cater to that particular need. There's real estate-based lending. You want to use those specific companies or those specific types of lending for the lending that you're looking for. So for example, if you are a restaurant and you need some cooking equipment, I would tell you don't use a line of credit for that, or don't use a loan for that, although you could, but don't use a loan for that. Use equipment financing. Because equipment financing, first of all, it's going to give you better terms for that equipment. Two, those lenders are only lending on equipment. So they have faster processing. They can deposit the money. You don't have to jump through hoops. They don't need, so you do a loan, let's say you do a loan at a bank, they're going to need a full business plan with projections.
Yes.
Equipment leasing doesn't need all of that. So use those lending vehicles for what they are designed.
Got you. Is there anything else that a business owner should know that we have not already discussed?
Yes.
Okay.
People don't talk about this enough. So every business should have at least 3 financial partners, potentially 4, but definitely at least 3. You should have a banking partner. When I say a banking partner, I don't just mean you deposit your money into a bank. You should be able to call your banker and ask them what products they have. And the relationship should be such that your banker should call you out of the blue and say, hey, so-and-so and such business, we have these new products that came on board. We think you're right for them. That needs to be a nurtured relationship, and I want you guys to be having that conversation with your banker at least once every quarter.
Once a quarter.
Once a quarter. And the reason I implore people to do that, almost admonish, is because that relationship will get you through some of the challenges that other businesses aren't getting through. So, Desarrie, I don't come here to be divisive. I don't come here to talk to a specific group of people and ignore another group of people, but I cater my conversations to the African American community because we are playing from behind.
Absolutely.
So your banker is going to help you, if you have the relationship, going to help you get in position to get this financing that you need to expand your companies. We in the African American community are not expanding our businesses at the rate other communities are expanding just because we don't have the capital. Now, some of it is nefarious, discriminatory, racist policies. But much of it is us not being in position, and I'm gonna talk about being in position in a minute, because I'm gonna run down some things that a lot of our companies don't have in place that make a lender say no. But have a banking relationship that you nurture every quarter. You want to have a great accountant, and I say to people, if you can afford to do it, you need to have 3 accountants. 3 accountants, because your finances happen in the past, present, and future. Your accountant that prepares your taxes is the one that deals with the past. You've done all of this work all year. That accountant is going to file your taxes based on what you've done. Your current or your present accountant is a bookkeeper. They're responsible for making sure that all of the things that you do are categorized and accounted for correctly. And then your future accountant is your financial planner. These are the things that your business can take advantage of next year so you don't pay as much taxes, right? I think those people should be separate. That's
Why?
Kevin.
Why should they be separate?
Because you want your tax preparer to know all of the documents that they need to file, and they need to be an expert in those documents. But if they're paying attention to the laws, trying to be a tax planner at the same time,
I got you.
and tax code, the tax code book every year is rewritten almost every year. It's thick. So a tax planner has their work cut out for them. So if they're paying attention to what new laws are coming out and what things are available, it's very difficult for them to know what forms or be paying attention to what forms. And then that person is paying attention to that. So daily bookkeeping, they don't have the time for. So I say make them separate. But if you get one that does all, that's fine. Just make sure they're well-versed in all 3.
Okay.
So banker, accountants, and a credit person. Now, this is not a shameless plug because this is just an outright plug.
Okay.
Get a person who is well-versed, or a company that is well-versed in business credit, how to leverage it. Because that company, if they're worth their weight, is going to tell you how to make wise credit decisions. You're going to need credit. Here's the deal. There's only 3 ways to finance a company. You can self-finance, meaning you're putting the money from the business back into the business. There's debt financing, which is you're using lending. And then there's equity financing, which means you're selling part of the company and giving up control, part control, right? Most businesses are going to use at least one. Most of them are going to use a combination. Most businesses are going to use all 3. Your credit person is going to tell you how to best manage your credit so that you can use it as a tool. Remember, credit is not the goal. So everybody that's out there walking around talking about I got an 850 credit, it means nothing. It means something to you. So let me back out of that. I apologize.
Listen, that's an achievable feat to have a good credit score.
And it's commendable. I clap it up.
Okay.
But credit is a tool just like cash is a tool. It is a tool to get freedom. So your business can be free so that you can be free personally. So you want a great company to be able to counsel you on how to manage and leverage credit so that you can get the freedom that you're looking for. Now let me go into some of the things that happen in the Black community. So I said there are some policies out there that are set so that the African American community and minorities at large are taken advantage of and make it challenging for us to get financing. But a lot of it is that's the way we're just not doing what we're supposed to do. And it's mostly because we don't know.
That's what I was about to say. A lot of it is lack of knowledge. We don't know any better. So
I'm not chastising you all. I
got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
Thank you. She had to back me down. So Desarrie, in our process, the first thing we do is we do an assessment to determine what we call lender compliance or business legitimacy.
Okay.
Let me tell you several of the things that happen in business legitimacy. One of my biggest pet peeves is for those of you who are running your businesses and using Gmail addresses, you guys may think that's trivial. So many people think that if they put the name of their business in front of @Gmail, it makes it a business email. Yeah. No, it would surprise some people to know that banks will throw your application out or deny you for credit just because they see that Gmail address, because they say it indicates that you are not serious about your business, that you've not invested in a domain name for your business. So get a domain name and use email addresses off that domain name. Yourname.com, yourbusinessname.com, or .net or .org.
And they can do that through Google Workspace.
Absolutely.
So it's just a matter of switching platforms really quickly. But anyway, go ahead.
But if you don't know, you don't know.
You don't know. Yes.
People think they have a business email. An address that is separate from your home address. A lot of people are using home-based businesses, and I want to be transparent. I run a business that it primarily operates digitally or virtually, so I don't have to meet with clients. I have a brick and mortar office here in 30th and Cecil B. Moore, shameless plug, in Philadelphia, in the great state of Pennsylvania. I have a brick and mortar, but most of my business is done wherever I am in the world. I just use my brick and mortar to meet clients when I have some clients that are tactile. They just need to meet in person. So I use my office for that, but I'm not in my office. I'm only there by appointment. But that said, some people are running their businesses out of their home, but home-based addresses are 3 times more likely to get denied for credit than businesses that have an address. If you have a brick and mortar, that's great. If you don't get what we call a virtual address, so that's important. and they're checking. By the way, in personal credit, if you get denied for credit, they will tell you why. They'll send you a letter. You got denied for credit. This is why. You had too many inquiries, or you had too many late payments, or you got too many derogatories, collections. They'll tell you. On the business side, they don't have to tell you, and they don't. They just said, unfortunately, at this time, we cannot extend credit to your business. So you have no idea why. And I liken that to trying to fix that or trying to understand why. I liken that to if you take your car to a mechanic and you say, this is the noise, and your mechanic takes all the parts out of the car, instead of taking one part out of the car and then starting it up and see if the noise is still there. And if that doesn't fix it, putting that part back in.
You're trying something else.
If you don't know
How can you fix it?
how can you fix it?
Yeah.
So if you don't know why they denied you, then you don't know what to go and fix. And this is another shameless plug. So that's what my company does. We do a pre-qualification assessment. We can tell you all of the reasons why you would get denied for credit, and we can help you fix those things and then get you in compliance. So address, business email. One of the other things is not having a website. With the advent of social media, a lot of people are running their businesses off of social media.
Yes.
You got to have a website. The first place a credit card company, a bank lender, the first place they're going to look to determine the legitimacy of their business, of your business, is to see if you have a website and to see if you are selling the products and services that you say that you sell on the application. So there are several other things. Those are just some things that I see in our community. I ran into a client. I'll tell you these two quick anecdotes. I ran into a client the other day. She makes these delectable treats, chocolate treats. She's great, but all of her business is on Instagram. Now she gets thousands of dollars worth of orders from Instagram because she does an amazing job. No website. And I'm saying to her, you got to build a website. Good news is you can build a website in 30 seconds. AI,
Yes.
you just tell them there are several AI website builders. You can tell an AI website builder what you want, and it'll build a website like that. I had talking about the address. I have a client currently, and I'm not going to say names. We had this conversation today. I'm just going to put it out there because I want everybody to be aware. So it's easier for me to ask for forgiveness than permission. So one of the major credit card companies that she has an account with, current account, she's paying on, she's had it for years, sent a representative to her office to check to see if it was an actual office. Now, I have not in the history of working with credit clients ever had that happen. Today was the first I've ever heard of that.
Wow. Why would they do something like that?
I can only speculate. My thought is, and this is our thought, she and I came up with this collectively. Either they want to extend her some more credit, and they just want to make sure she's not a high risk, or they want to deny her credit or cut her credit off, and they want to see if she is a legitimate business and not using a space that is made up, or a post office box.
Post office. Okay.
Or there have been a lot of there's been a lot of funding of terrorist activities through LLCs, money laundering activities. And so a lot of these companies want to be careful that they're not financing, unbeknownst to them, they're not financing these activities. And so they went to verify that she's a legitimate business.
I know after COVID, with the loans that were available to business owners, from what I understand, I don't know, but I believe that there was some investigation about that as well, because people were saying they had businesses and they really didn't have businesses, but they were getting this money. So that's what came to my mind. Like, they just want to make sure it truly is a legit business and, moving forward. Now, how does that work because you also mentioned virtual addresses. So had she had a virtual address, how do you think that would have played out?
Well, it is a virtual address. So I think
Okay.
they just came to verify that it was a virtual address.
Okay. Okay.
But I caution people, and this is, so the internet gurus out there, again, air quoting, the internet gurus out there will tell you to get virtual addresses. Some of them are not telling you the predicate. So a good virtual address has an actual building. If you have a company, so when you get a virtual address, Google it. If on Google Earth it's an empty parking lot, don't use that. Get an address that is an actual building. It could be a co-working space, share space. It could be a company that they have a building, and in that building they sell mailboxes. Now, you can buy the mailbox service, so they'll give you a suite number, but they'll forward your mail. But make sure it's an actual building. If it's not, don't use that.
Don't play with it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because just like you in Google Earth, the bank is going to Google Earth.
Going to Google Earth. But the thing is, though, so many people are able to work virtually, right? Like I can run an entire business if I want to go to Taiwan for a year. And I can still run my business, right?
Sure.
Depending on the services that I'm offering. So in that situation, if I have a truly virtual business, let's say I am a website builder.
Yep.
I don't have to be anywhere, right?
Correct.
Do I still have to have a physical address?
You want to have a virtual address.
Yeah, well, a virtual
Again.
address, I still have to have that.
But yes, but it needs to have a physical building. And the answer to your question is no, you don't need to have it. You just are going to get less lending because most banks are not going to take that's not most. That's incorrect. Some banks are not going to take that risk.
Gotcha.
Some banks are going to they're going to frown upon that because you're just, so when we do this scan that I'm talking about, we're going to get a risk score. It's the same risk score that the banks use. That score is from 0 to 100. 100 being the best, 0 being the worst. That score, the lower that score, the less lending you'll have access to. And one of the factors that goes into that score is your address.
Gotcha.
So, no, it's perfectly fine. Dentists, doctors, some small doctor's office, some small insurance agencies may have home-based businesses. Again, just know that you might be foregoing some of the financing that you could get access to.
Got you. Is there anything else?
Talk to a good advisor, a good credit advisor.
That would be you.
I mean, I'm saying,
You're saying
if you're looking for somebody, I got a guy. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
But take it. Oh, this is what I want to impress upon people. Credit is not something that you can get in an emergency. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I implore you, get credit before you need it. So I know in the African American community, we have a really traumatic history with credit, just because of how credit started with us. So credit starts in sharecropping with us, and will you indulge me a little bit? Can I
Go.
talk a little bit about?
Yes, absolutely.
So our credit history starts with sharecropping, and sharecropping when after Emancipation Proclamation and the whole 40 acres and a mule proclamation, when African Americans were told that they could work farms and after a certain period of time, they could own those farms. They just had to work off the debt. That's credit. We'll give you this land, you work for it, and then you pay us back plus interest. And that credit came in the form of seeds or tools or the land itself. But the issue is the person who, let's say, gave you the tools said you'd have to work off those tools for a year. After that year came, though, they'd say, you got another year.
Yes.
Or they'd say you'd have to give us, in exchange for these tools, you have to give us 100 bushels of corn. You give them 100,
Change
they
the
want
rule again.
110. So that's actual credit. Fast forward now. So we've inherited, by the way, trauma is inherited.
Yes.
So we've inherited that trauma and that relationship with credit from our ancestors. So I understand why Black businesses don't apply for lending at the same rates that other businesses do. And of course, that we're denied at much greater rates that other businesses do, percentage-wise. But part of it is because we don't know how to do it. So again, get with a great credit advisor. On top of that, though, because of our trauma, we're not applying. You are going to need credit at some point. Like I said, there's only 3 ways to finance your business, and there's only 3 ways to finance that growth. So let me give you an anecdote about financing and the different ways. So let's say you're going to self-finance. Let's say your business saves $10,000 a month. So after expenses, every month you're putting away $10,000. And after 10 months, you have amassed this $100,000. And then there's a piece of equipment that you need to buy that is going to make your company $1 million, right? Costs $100,000. You spend that savings. Now you've got to wait another 10 months to get that $100,000 back. And if in 6 months an opportunity comes up that costs $100,000, you can't take advantage, right? There may be a piece of property that comes available, right? You can't take advantage. So opportunity cost lost. That's where credit comes in. I can now go to a lender. I've got this $100,000 piece of equipment. Maybe it appraises for $150,000. I can now leverage that, go get a loan. And I can do that loan 72 hours. I'm funded, right? So now I can go take advantage of that next opportunity. Makes me another $1 million, right? And then, of course, the equity financing. Somebody says, I'll give you that $100,000, but I'm going to need 7% of your company. Now, 7% may come with voting rights. They can determine the colors or whatever. Still a good idea because you can inject capital in your business faster through debt and equity than you can through self-financing. So you're going to need credit. That is a fact. That said, please get the credit before you need it. You see what I just did? I did that for emphasis. Get it before you need it. Apply for that credit, have it sitting. So most people say, I don't want to get a credit card because I don't want to get into debt. You can get a $25,000 credit card and don't use it. The other thing about business credit that's more powerful is, on the personal side, if you don't use your credit cards, they'll close them or they'll reduce the limits. They don't do that with business credit. I mean, they may, but it doesn't happen very often because they know you might be running your business and it may be a year before you need that credit card. So get the credit card, leave it sitting. Even if it's 25% interest, 25% times 0 is 0. So you're not paying any interest. Maybe you're paying yearly fees.
Fees, yes. But
it's an
investment. But they're usually nominal. So
it's an investment. Because Desarrie, it is almost impossible to get credit in an emergency. That $100,000 piece of equipment breaks. You're in a restaurant. You can't make the pizzas. You've got to go out and get a $100,000 piece of equipment to replace this. And you go. It could take you 90 days before you get funded. Well, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do?
You got to shut down. You got a problem. You got a major problem on your hands. Yeah.
But if you had that line of credit, you had that credit card.
It's a shift in mindset because I can honestly say I grew up hating debt. I was taught always pay off everybody. Pay it down. Don't accumulate. And I get it. There's good debt and there's bad debt. In my mind, all I heard was debt. Debt. And I don't like owing anybody anything. So, I was always working, even in building my real estate portfolio. If I have the cash to buy it, I'll buy it. If I don't, then I won't buy it. Or with the property, I won't pull out equity because I don't want to owe anybody to anything. So it's become a shift in mindset. Even as a real estate agent, I had to change that. And I'm still working on that because I still don't like debt. I can't stand debt. But I do understand it's necessary. If you are going to grow in business, you have to you have to pay it off, obviously, but you have to be willing to be able to leverage, other people's money, as they call it. So it's a shift. I am getting there. So I can understand a lot of our listeners that they're not there yet because, I'm still working on it myself.
So it's funny that I hear that all the time. Mm-hmm. And I challenge it. I'm not saying it's not true. I challenge it because for whatever reason, everyone in our community says, I want to buy a house. You cannot buy a house cash. It's illegal.
Who is illegal?
You cannot try to go to a person selling a house with a duffel bag with $100,000.
No, you can't do that. You can cut a check. You can cut a check if you have the cash in your bank account, but then you're depleting all your funds. So
now I went through that already, right? You bought this house, you paid cash. Another house comes up that gives a better yield.
You gotta wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not opposed to credit. And by the way, most of our community is carrying mortgages. That is debt.
That's debt. Yeah.
That's debt.
Mm-hmm.
It's the worst debt, by the way.
It's not the worst debt, depending on the situation. Depending on the situation, because people have to have a place to live, right? And real estate in general and historically has appreciated in value as opposed to depreciated in value. So we talk a lot about creating generational wealth and all of these things, on our show. So, please don't say mortgages.
I did that just to
Right.
that was so that's clickbait. I did that for clickbait.
Okay,
right?
all right.
That's how we're gonna go viral. That's
Okay.
clickbait.
All right, go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, a mortgage is an absolute wonderful vehicle if you are with a wonderful real estate person who can tell you how to leverage. And so I'm saying you're absolutely right. There's no way I'm going to sit here and say a mortgage is a bad thing because I'm in the credit space. And I'm saying credit is a tool. A mortgage is a tool. Excuse me. It is a tool to get you to a goal of generational wealth.
Absolutely.
So I'm saying if you get with a credit advisor that can tell you how to manage and leverage.
Yeah. I mean, it can be, some people get in over their heads with the mortgages and all of that stuff. But, if you're working with the right team of people, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So, I mean, like I said, it's a mindset shift. A lot of people in our community, we don't like that. Because of, like you said, the history, the trauma that's ingrained in our DNA, but we have to break that cycle if we are going to be able to, grow financially as a people.
Yeah. Let me say this, if you don't mind. Every financial law in this country was written so that businesses could take advantage and consumers would be taken advantage of.
Yes.
So let's be clear. Every financial law, every credit law, every tax law, every banking law, every savings law, every law was written so that so that businesses could take advantage. That's why in the credit space, you're going to get more credit. That's why you're going to get more points. That's why, and I'm only going to talk in the credit space. I'll let the accountants talk in the tax space, but that's why that's why the business credit is going to be more powerful because the laws that govern it were written so that businesses could leverage it and use it. People have to remember this country is a business. It was started as a business. And its number one product was slavery.
Now, I didn't say us.
Click,
yeah.
click.
You're right.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
No, I didn't put it up like that. Okay. I said like us, like, slavery, us, humans.
Human capital was, that's what this country was it was founded as a business, and its number one product, its number one import export was human capital. So that means that the laws that were written from the time that we were brought here, right? So you have to remember, we've got 400 plus years of these laws written for businesses. Personal, not so much, right?
Not so much. Not many people out there are, looking out for the consumer.
Sure.
The regular consumer, unfortunately. Sure. But if you're in business, I guess that's how our former president was able to get away with paying.
So we said we offline. We said we weren't going to talk politics.
But if you want to listen, go ahead.
So don't want to, again, be divisive. Whichever way you're leaning in politics, and we're not going to have a political show just yet. But one of our former presidents, who shall remain nameless, but not colorless, Agent Orange, right, for his companies filed bankruptcy 13 years straight and still was able to get lending. And that's because laws were created that businesses could take advantage. If you file bankruptcy personally, it could take you some time, 2 years or more, for you to be able to in a position to get major lending. And it depends on the type of major lending. It could take you longer. But business, file bankruptcy. Next year, he's up and running with a different business. More lending, bankruptcy. More lending, bankruptcy. So he likes to say that he's a self-made millionaire. But his father gave him 2 gifts when he was 9. The first gift he gave him was an endowment, which amounted to about $40 million in today's money. That's a pretty good head start. But the other thing, and the more powerful thing that he gave him, was he registered him as a business and started building business credit so that he wouldn't have to leverage his personal credit. That's how he's able to file bankruptcy and still go into the bank and say, hey, the name has value. And so give me another 20 million and I'll go down to Jersey, Atlantic City, and build the Taj Mahal, and that'll be a disaster. Anyway,
and then turn around and give me another 20 million.
Give me another 20 million. And they gave it to him.
I wonder if my name holds that value.
It does.
It does?
It does.
I can go in the bank and say, give me 20 million.
I mean, look at it. Look where we are. Yeah, you are a superstar. You are a superstar. Absolutely. You go into the bank and leverage the name and
give me 20 million.
Give me 20 million.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it tomorrow. I'll let you know how.
Don't tell him I sent you.
I am going to tell him.
When you tell him, don't use my name.
I will. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having
You're
me.
welcome. You're welcome. Now, we are going to do a part 2, guys. We're going to do a part 2 in talking about personal credit. But in the meantime, to finish up this show, I would like Kevin to give his information so that if anyone needs, his services, they can personally reach out to him.
Now, you heard her. She invited me to do this, so now it's not a shameless plug. It's just a plug, right?
Yes.
So the name of the company is Premisien, Premisien. We are on all platforms with that name: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can go to our website, Premisien, www.premisien.com. They still use the www.premisien.com. You can call us at 215-904-8690. You can email us at info@premisien.com. That is a business email, by the way. Just one of the many. So reach out to us. Like I said, we do a free business scan. It doesn't cost you any money. It will help you determine where your business stands. And then based on what it tells you, we can determine what we need to do to get you in place to get all of the lending. It'll determine if you are in a place to get lending right now, and then we can help you get that lending. We have a bunch of lending partners that will extend those credit things to you, those credit categories to you. So again, the name is Premisien, Premisien, 215-904-8690, or info@premisien.com.
All right, thank you. And guys, Kevin's information and Premisien information will be at the bottom of the screen for you guys who are watching the video. And take it down if you're listening to the radio. All right, so I am Desarrie, Real Estate Diva McDuffie. This has been another episode of Real Talk with the Real Estate Diva, and I will see you guys. Oh, no, how can you get in contact with me, right? All right, so you can go to my website, www.phillyrealestatediva.com, or you can call me at my office. That number is 267-238-2877. Do not text that number. Some people will tell me they text me. Not at that number. Don't do it. That is a office line. So just leave a message and I'll get back to you. Okay? Until next week, guys, be blessed. Bye.